First one up is from Avi Baer. What do you think about it being mentioned in a Variety article that Ben Affleck will be Batman in Justice League 2? I feel it was just the author not doing research well, but is there anything we don't know?
Okay, so for those of you who may not have seen this, there were a whole bunch of headlines on a few websites going around. Ben Affleck officially back as Batman, and Ben Affleck to appear in Justice League 2, and blah, 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 blah. And I remember I first heard about it because somebody sent me a message on Instagram and said, John, did you see that Variety is reporting that Ben Affleck is back as Batman? And my first response was unbridled joy, because everybody knows what I think of Ben Affleck and Batman. I want Ben Affleck as Batman. I love Ben Affleck as Batman. And you know, you ever have those moments where a piece of information hits you and you have like a 5-hour conversation with yourself in your head in a split second? I had one of those situations. So I'm like, in my head, I'm imagining, does this have something to do with Kevin Tsujihara stepping down? Maybe Ben's relationship with Tsujihara wasn't good. Now that he's out of the way, maybe he's open to coming back as Batman and blah, blah. And I'm getting this joygasm, right? Well, sorry to burst the bubble, everybody. Ben Affleck is not back as Batman. So here's the thing. There is an article in Variety that kind of mentions this. Here's the headline that this is in. Is the headline on Variety, Ben Affleck back as Batman? No. The headline is Ben Affleck's action star evolution in 10 movies, from Dazed and Confused to Triple Frontier. And for whatever reason, this article leaves out The Accountant, which I don't know if they just forgot that he made that movie, but yeah, they left it. I love The Accountant. Anyway, so they do this and write this article, and they go through the whole article, going through all these different things, and then in the final paragraph of the article, just kind of as they're signing off, it says this. Now, this is the final words of the article, and it's a big, long article. Unlike with Daredevil, the actor had the opportunity to reprise his role as the iconic superhero, returning as Batman in Suicide Squad and Justice League. Affleck will be portray. Yes, they didn't even get the wording right. Affleck will be portray the Dark Knight once again in the announced Justice League sequel. That is what was in the Variety article at the end.
That's some copy editing, John.
That's some great grammar right there. In one of the highest profile, most respected, outlets in the business. Affleck will be portray the Dark Knight once again in the announced Justice League sequel. Okay. From this quote, from this comment, in an article titled Ben Affleck's action star evolution to 10 movies, from Dazed and Confused to Triple Frontier, nothing about him coming back as Batman, they end with this. On that, a bunch of websites ran, Ben Affleck officially back and blah, blah, blah. Let's look at what's wrong with this picture. Number one, forget the fact that whoever wrote this article left out one of his major action films. Whoever wrote this article doesn't apparently understand grammar. But hey, look, I don't speak so good either sometimes, right? So there's that. So who cares about that? The first thing that should jump out to everybody as a real problem and a mistake in this thing is the announced Justice League sequel. There has been no announced Justice League sequel. There has been no announcement about a Justice League sequel. As a matter of fact, everything coming out of Warner Brothers these days is the exact opposite of them talking about doing a Justice League sequel. It's all been about how we're getting away from shared cinematic universe. We're focusing more on individual stories and individual characters and blah, blah, blah. There is no announced Justice League sequel. So I think the most logical conclusion here is that whatever intern they had write this article, they simply grabbed some kind of boilerplate template for ending things off and slapped it in there. Because he can't be returning for the announced Justice League sequel when there is no announced Justice League sequel, and he's already publicly stated he is no longer Batman. Had this been true, and this is the thing that gets me the most, Robert, had this been true, had it been that they were actually breaking a story that Ben Affleck was now coming back, whether because Kevin Tsujihara is now gone or whatever it is.
Right.
The headline of the story would not be Ben Affleck's action star evolution to 10 movies from Dazed and Confused to Triple Frontier. The headline on Variety and in the Hollywood Reporter and on Deadline and on Coming Soon and on Cinema Blend and everywhere, the headline would be Ben Affleck returning as Batman. Not this. So I could see why there was a little bit of confusion because of it's Variety. It's not some dinky little blog.
No.
It's Variety. I can see why that did cause a little bit of confusion, but just taking a split second to look at it, everybody should have understood that, oh, that's not accurate. This is not true. So no, folks, Ben Affleck is not back as Batman. But I do want to reemphasize, and maybe this is just me trying to be hyper optimistic because it's Ben Affleck. With Sujihara gone, I don't know if Ben's problems with Warner Brothers and vice versa had anything to do with the dynamic between Sujihara and Ben Affleck. I don't know that at all. But it is a dynamic, fundamental change here, Robert, in the whole situation with Sujihara now being gone. I don't know. I'd like to think that maybe there's a finite, minuscule chance that maybe at some point Ben Affleck would go, okay, if Sujihara's gone, maybe I'll come back. I'm not saying that's the case, but this is not that situation. You saw this whole thing unfolding, Rob. What were your thoughts?
Well, first of all, Ben Affleck is a very intelligent guy. He's directed a Best Picture winner. He's won an Academy Award for writing Good Will Hunting. He played Batman in 3 major motion pictures. I mean, he played him in more, but if you go for Batman v Superman, in Suicide Squad he appeared, and Justice League he appeared. And all 3 of those movies were pilloried by the very community that should have loved and embraced them. They should have been great movies. If I was Ben Affleck, I'd be like, screw you guys. You know, the fan base that I'm making these movies for, I have to take some slings and arrows for working out and busting my ass. And everybody first hated me for being cast in the role. Then I had to overcome their fears. And then it turns out they love me. Then I wind up in these mediocre movies. No wonder he doesn't want to play Batman again. No wonder he was driven to drink. Then you read an article like an action movie article, his action evolution, and it starts with Dazed and Confused, where he played a douche with a cricket back, spanking freshmen coming into high school. I mean, it's look, the journalism, this was in Variety. Not only is the misspelling offensive, but the writing and the research, and look, by the way, I don't know if Reindeer Games was in the article or not, but it should be because John Frankenheimer directed it, and there's a director's cut of Reindeer Games. I am really tired of the lack of journalistic integrity, the lack of research, and the lack of knowledge for people that are writing these articles. This is Variety. It is, other than Hollywood Reporter, it's like the New York Times of entertainment news. And to read some drivel like that is ridiculous. And websites and our fan base should know better. They should know better when they read something like this and go, just like you said, what Justice League movie? This kind of stuff pisses me off. It erodes the fabric of our entire civilization.
Yes, a Rob rant.
Here's the thing that really gets me. It's like this article came out days ago. That's an obvious mistake. And I checked it again this morning. It's still there. Those errors are still there. And here's the thing. If this was, hell, even if it was Cineblend, which is a site I love, or Coming Soon, which is a site that I love, whatever. You accidentally said, you worded something the wrong way. It's not like they ran a headline with it, whatever. But this is Variety. Variety is the thing that we often point to as like, okay, look, if it's coming from Variety, you can pretty much take it to the bank.
Sacrosanct,
right.
It's holy.
This was clearly a little mistake. It was a small mistake that some intern writer, I don't know who the writer was. I have no idea. So I'm not trying to disparage the writer. I don't know who they are.
Somebody who failed remedial English, apparently.
Well, anyway, you have editorial processes there. How was this not caught? And when you are a site, like a major outlet, like a Hollywood Reporter or Variety, that everybody else is relying on to make sure you got the little details. Again, I don't want to overblow this. This isn't that they ran a headline saying Ben Affleck back as Batman when it wasn't true. That's not the situation here. It's a small mistake that was made at the end, but it's a glaring mistake, and it's an obvious mistake, and it's a mistake that's causing a lot of confusion amongst film fandom, and why they haven't simply gone back and made a quick edit to fix this is a little confusing to me because, like I said, this is one of those situations where sometimes fandom just goes a little bit crazy. But this was something that was written in Variety. Yes, we should have recognized it was probably just a mistake, but it's written in Variety, so I can at least understand why people went, wait, what? And got that initial bit of excitement. I just don't understand, being such a leader in this industry, how they don't have an editorial process to catch such an obvious mistake, and why after days they haven't gone back to fix it. So I know, but again, I don't want to overblow it as if they ran a headline. They didn't run a headline. It's a small error in a final paragraph.
It's still, though, it shouldn't be there.
No, I agree.
I mean, the point is that Variety has one job: reporting entertainment news. And if they can't even do that effectively,
they're great at it.
What good are they? But are they great at it? This calls into question their entire editorial staff. I mean, it's like, we allow these things to slide. But you know what? With the internet, people's lives, I'm not saying they are in this article, but people's lives can change in an instant based on what's reported on the internet. When Variety reports this or has this kind of slipshod writing where spelling isn't corrected, it calls into question every single article they publish.
Oh,
and they should pay more attention.
Know about that. I think that's overstating.
Come on,
dude,
we must demand excellence from our outlets,
excellence,
especially the paper of record.
But I mean, that's why we're here. We're calling it out that it should be fixed and should be addressed. But come on, literally, Variety puts out about 40 articles a day, and to think that, hey, every once in a while something might slip between the cracks. I mean, they should still be addressed. They need to fix it. But I don't know that the lack of absolute perfection calls into question their entire entity.
Would you feel that way about your airline pilots that carry you on your next intercontinental trip? One mistake.
Again, though, this was not a wrong headline and not a wrong story. It was a poorly worded thing in the final little paragraph of whatever. If my airline pilots, turn on the in-flight entertainment 1 minute late, that's okay.
Well,
if my airline pilots land in the wrong city, that's a different thing. But that's not what happened with Variety here. It's a small little thing in a final paragraph.
It wasn't just one paragraph because they left out the accountant. It's an article that's showing the action evolution of an actor.
It was one article, and clearly they dropped the ball in that one article. But again, they put out 40 articles a day over the course of, 7 days a week, over the course of 4.5 weeks in the month, over the course of 12 months in a year. It needs to be addressed. It needs to be fixed, especially something as big as this. I just don't think one mistake calls into question, or one faulty article calls into question the integrity of the body. Again, this wasn't a headline. This was a poorly constructed
I must
article.
Quote the great Lord Vader, who once said, "I do not share your optimistic appraisal of the situation."
Good quote. With that quote, you win. I can't come back from that quote. That quote is just, that's a winner quote. So